It was more like, have feelings. What feeling? You don't have a job. You're not raising hard-headed kids. What feelings? All you do is go to school, eat food, and waste all the sacrifices I made by coming to this country. These are my confessions, this is my truth, and these are the stories. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel, Confessions of an Immigrant's Daughter. My name is Melina Cabral. In a typical American household, you have the learning how to name and express emotions, learning emotional regulation, you have your self-advocacy, self-expression, and you have the let's learn boundaries and healthy communication. In my immigrant parent household, you have the what are you crying for? I'll give you something to cry about. If you don't stop jumping around and sit down real quick, if you don't stop talking so much in school and do your work, I'm gonna rip your throat out. Say another word and I'll break your mouth. Stop tripping over your own feet. Are you slow or are you crazy? Walk right like a normal person. Keep playing with me and acting dumb. And I can't forget the famous, I put you in this world and I will be the one to take you out of it. Yeah, what a time. I hated hearing I'll give you something to cry about because it's like, give me something to cry about. So insulting me, coming at my life, putting my self-esteem in the trash, the crazy talk, and the occasional slap wasn't enough. I am lucky to say that my mom didn't really spank us, but she more than made up for it with her words. She spared no expense with them words, baby. Guilt tripping, making you feel super dumb, pointing out every little mistake, and making you really second guess yourself. Yeah, she had those on lock. When you're growing up with immigrant parents in America, walking on eggshells just becomes a normal way of life. And self-awareness is something you pick up extremely early. All of the pressure and perfectionism that comes from being in these people's country teaches you how to be a top-notch liar. To avoid my mom's disappointment, her wrath, and her mouth, I had to learn how to lie and lie good. My mom's priorities were survival and meeting our basic needs. She had zero time for anything else, especially not no mental health, self-advocacy, growing emotional intelligence, or self-regulation. She didn't even know what those things were. We needed to do what she said, when she said, because she said, and that was the end of that. There was no time for processing thoughts and feelings. It was more like, have feelings. What feeling? You don't have a job. You're not raising hard-headed kids. What feelings? All you do is go to school, eat food, and waste all the sacrifices I made by coming to this country. What feelings? Are you in a foreign land trying to make it? No, you're in your own country where they speak your own language. What stress? Do you have mouths to feed? My mental health journey started when I was a toddler, and it's still going right now. I mean, it never ends really. It just changes. It has its ups, downs, and all arounds. The first sign for me that something was wrong was when I was a toddler and I would literally rip my hair out of my head. My mom didn't know that it could be related to mental health, so she would literally shave my entire head out of frustration, and I would be walking around looking like a straight up boy. Another sign was in every single picture of every single birthday party I ever had as a kid, I was on camera wailing, sobbing, crying my little eyes out in front of my cake. There was always just too much going on. There was mad people always there. I couldn't get my way with one thing or another. And my mom thought I was just being bad or spoiled, but now we know it wasn't that. I cried when angry. I cried when I got confused. I got angry when I got confused. I would get sad if people didn't wave back at me in the store. I got crazy energetic when I was happy. I got so upset whenever I made a mistake. And I got extremely frustrated if I was ever misunderstood, and I would just shut down all the time. I had very intense emotions. Things really started to unfold when I started school. I started noticing some differences between me and the other kids, and like a couple of challenges started to slowly rise to the surface for me. I always got in trouble for talking too much, talking too loud, talking at the wrong time. I was always the last one to finish my test. Always. MCAS, quizzes, spelling tests, whatever. Always last. I always had a stomach ache and we could never get to the bottom of why. In class, I was always on the wrong step, wrong task. Like, we'd be reading aloud 1 minute and I would stop paying attention for what felt like just 1 minute to me. And I would just be thinking about some random thing or something that had nothing to do with the read aloud or the task that we were supposed to be doing. Then I would snap out of it and come back to reality. And all of a sudden, everybody would have their writing journals out, writing God knows what. And I would just look around mad lost like, are we allowed to use markers? Like, girl, do you even know what's going on? Because it doesn't look like you do. And I sure didn't. I could never get my work done on time. There was one year in elementary school where I literally had to go to summer school because I did not get all of my work done within the school year. And I just couldn't get caught up. I think it was in 3rd grade, which was my first year out of ELL and with a non-Cape Verdean teacher. I learned that year things started to really escalate during my adolescence / young adulthood. As a teenager, I would always get in trouble at home because I couldn't keep my room clean long enough. It was always either one of two things: a complete disaster or in perfect order. Never anywhere in between. I would avoid doing the dishes like the plague. It just took way too long, and there was so many other things that I could have been doing. Every single parent-teacher conference that I ever had, whether it was a Cape Verdean teacher, a white teacher, a black teacher, a Caribbean teacher, a Hispanic teacher, it did not matter. They all went the exact same. Melina's so smart. She has so much potential, but she can't stay focused on finishing her work, and she's always talking during class. And then all throughout middle school, high school, even college, I had the same pattern every single year. I would start off strong, basically perfect, and then once I proved to myself that I could be the perfect student, I would slack all the way off. Like, forget homework forever. I mean, to the point where I would fall so behind in my work that at the end of the year, I had to do so much work just to catch up and just to be able to pass to the next grade. I mean, I would be scrambling, racing to the finish line just so that I can get everything in. And I would have a mile-long list of missed assignments. And it wasn't that I didn't know how to do the work. It was that I just didn't want to at all, ever, until I had to. Because do not go to summer school or get held back in an immigrant parent household and it's because you didn't finish your work. I almost had to go to summer school again in the 8th grade because, you know, I didn't learn my lesson. And I almost missed my middle school graduation. Like, I barely made it. And I would get above 90 on everything I turned in, even after they factored in the missed points for it being late. I was getting A's on all the assignments that I turned in. So that's why I would pass. But did I stop this crazy pattern after going to summer school in the 3rd grade and almost missing 8th grade graduation? Nope. It continued all throughout college, except in college, the time frames are shorter because, you know, there's semesters and with each semester comes a new set of classes. So I had a much shorter window to get all that work done and turned in. And the demand for the schoolwork in college is obviously way higher. I would be stressed at the end of every single semester. I had to pump out like 30 assignments in 30 days just to get my bachelor's degree. But my GPA was like a 3.64 when I graduated. So as an adult, after college, I was diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder and inattentive ADHD. At 29, after all that. So that means that as I was growing up, I was literally getting in trouble for having ADHD and anxiety, but my mom was unaware, so really can't blame her for that. I know now that when small kids pull their hair out, it can be related to anxiety, but it's more common for kids that have ADHD. Go figure. We now know that people with ADHD avoid tasks that require prolonged periods of focus, and they're hesitant or unmotivated to start a task that has multiple steps, that's complex, or that's new. Yeah, my homework, finishing papers, starting papers, cleaning my room. People with ADHD can also feel understimulated with doing boring or repetitive tasks. The dishes. I've learned that people with ADHD are prone to thinking in extremes or absolutes, which means like black and white thinking, aka all or nothing thinking. That means you either have to go all in or nothing at all. There's no room for middle ground. Yeah, that sounds familiar. I learned that people with ADHD have difficulty concentrating, starting a task, finishing a task, staying organized, and staying consistent. If that doesn't describe me as a kid, a teenager, and a college student, then I don't know what does. I learned that people with ADHD, especially inattentive ADHD, have a tendency to daydream, which is a result of your mind wandering more, which would happen to me all the time in elementary school, where we would be task switching and I would be like, what's going on? And I learned that ADHD can make getting your schoolwork done much more difficult. Yeah, it can. People with ADHD experience a range of emotions when they make mistakes, which can vary from anger, shame, guilt, remorse. That's me. I'm people. And then another lesser known fact is that frequent stomach aches that are unexplained in children can be a sign of anxiety in children. Tantrums, irritability, defiance, all of those can be classified as behavioral problems when you're a kid, but really it could also be missed anxiety disorder. And I learned that anxiety can negatively affect your grades, which could be misread as slacking off or being lazy. Bruh. So of course, after getting diagnosed, I would try to go and talk to my mom about some of the symptoms that we missed when I was growing up, that were mistaken for other things, or that just got downplayed, like I talk too much, or I'm lazy, or I don't care enough. Sometimes it goes well, and sometimes it doesn't. There's been times where I've tried to bring up ADHD and some of the things that I used to do growing up, and she would just be like, now, while I'm cooking, you want me to listen to you? Or she'll just literally be like, can you fix this on my phone? I can't get it to work right. Or, Melina, please, I don't want to hear your stories right now. I have a headache. One time I tried to talk to her about my anxiety and how it stems from pressure and responsibilities and expectations put on me by my family. And she goes, if I let pressure have an effect on me, I'd be dead. If I lived affected by the expectations that my family has of me, I would be dead. What about all the people in Cape Verde with real problems, whose families put a bunch of responsibilities on them? They're fine, or should they die? What about the pressure my family puts on me? Or all the people in Cape Verde whose families put real pressure on them? Should we all die then? But then of course there are times where she does listen, she agrees with me, she validates what I'm saying. And honestly, I remember one time she even admitted that maybe she did put too much pressure on us growing up because she just wanted us to be better than she was and to be perfect and not make any of the same mistakes that she made. And because she wasn't able to be perfect, she wanted to make sure that we were able to be perfect. And I felt that, but nobody can be perfect but Jesus. So now with my kids and my sister's kids, she's on the lookout, on high alert, ready to get everybody tested, ready to talk to everybody's doctor and look into any questionable behaviors and patterns and ask all of the questions. So I'm glad that at least the next generation in my family won't have to have the same mental health struggles growing up as I did. Even if they face similar challenges, they won't have to wait to get help and things will be addressed a lot sooner, setting them up for success and better mental health. So it wasn't all for nothing. Let me know though in the comments if you can relate to anything that I've talked about today. I love hearing from other children of immigrants and sharing how our stories can be similar and how our experiences kind of overlap. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. I hope you guys enjoyed that. It was a hard one for me, but super important for me. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do all of the things if you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next week. Bye. Okay. Oh, Myra's awake. When you're growing up with immigrant parents in America, walking on eggshells just becomes a normal or self. E tem fome? No. Jobu quenta leite? No, só gravo manito. So as an adult after college, I was diagnosed with generalizing Jesus help me. Setting them up. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you for joining me. I don't like that. Well, nope. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, do all of the things. Ow. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to like, share, Don't forget to like.